Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Kim and my channel is Kim Can't Stop Crafting. I'm going to be working on a album with you, and I want to start with the cover. And just as a reminder, the materials I'm going to be using came from Country Craft Creations, and I'll be using National Parks, which is by Cartabella. So it's a textured paper. So let's go ahead and get started. If you haven't seen the walkthrough, I will link that down below. Let me have you prepare your chipboard first for the cover. You're going to need 2 pieces that are 8 by 8, and those pieces will need to have some sort of adhesive on the back. I like to use the score tape. I think it works the best. So 2 at 8 by 8. You'll need 1 that is 6 by 8, and again, prep it with the score tape on the back. You're going to need 1 piece that's 1 5/8 by 8. Prep that one. Now, I've already done some preparation to save time, but you're going to need another piece that's 1 1/2 by 8. And again, put your score tape on the back. Okay, so I have already prepared 2 to show you what it's going to look like. You're going to have a front and back cover that's 8 by 8. You're going to have 2 spines, one on the left, one on the right. The one on the left is 1 1/2 by 8. The one on the right is going to be 1 5/8 by 8. And we're going to add a feature on the cover that I want it to look like a tent. So this is going to end up being a triangle that we add. You know what? We're going to need 1 more piece, and I don't think I cut that. So let me get that ready. Okay, so I prepped my last piece of chipboard that I forgot to tell you about. And so you're going to need one that's 2 1/2 by 8. Okay. All right, so previously I said that there's a right and a left when it comes to the spines. Actually, there's the top and the bottom, but when I attach it, it will look like it's left and right. So I didn't want to confuse anybody there, but okay, so that's your last piece of chipboard. So let me just go over it real quick just to make sure we've covered it all. So 1 5/8 by 8. You're going to need 1 that is 1 1/2 by 8. And now 2 1/2 by 8, 6 by 8, and 2 that are 8 by 8. Okay, so hopefully we got that squared away. So the first thing we'll do then is wrap 3 pieces exactly the same way. Those 3 pieces that we're going to wrap are the 2 8 by 8s and the 2 1/2 by 8. And we wrap it on all 4 sides. Like so, all 4 sides. Okay, so let's get started. You're going to want a 1-inch border on your paper. So let me go through the paper measurements that you need, and I'm just going to look off this piece of paper. So if you want to jot that down, you can. 2 that are 10 by 10, and that's to cover the front and back cover. 1 that's 4 1/2 by 10. That's for a spine piece. 1 that is 4 5/8 by 10, that is for a spine piece. 1 that is 8 by 10. And then finally the 4 1/2 by 10. So actually you need 2 that are 4 1/2 by 10. That doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, because when you do your spine pieces, you do 3 inches extra. And on the regular piece, you do 2 inches extra. So that's why they are the same measurement. So actually it would be 2 that are 4 1/2 by 10. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, so to wrap your chipboard on all 4 sides, we use the lay flat method. And you're going to want a 1-inch border on all 4 sides of your paper. So take your 10 by 10 and you, like I said, a 1-inch border. So sometimes people use the 1-inch spacers from Country Craft Creations, and they'll put 1 at the top and 1 at the side. But they also have this device, which is 1 inch by 1 inch. So instead of using the 2 separate pieces, it's easier for me to use the piece that is put together. So we're going to remove the backing of the score tape, and we're going to lay it down in the corner of where those 2 acrylic pieces came together. And it's so much easier to take off the backing of the score tape when you use the larger sheets. So we're just going to place that here. The top and the side need to line up with that yellow. And when I take this away, then you have that 1-inch border. Anytime you are using the score tape and you're attaching it, you do want to burnish it so that it sticks real well. Okay, and again, you're going to do this same method for all 3 pieces. So then what I do next is I start to fold over the chipboard, and by doing that, we're giving the paper an idea of where it needs to go. So once you fold it over, you're going to go ahead and score that. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing. Bring the chipboard up and over the paper and burnish that. Up and over, because we want a real firm, snug wrap. And the last one. So now what I want to do is I want to take my burnishing tool and push that paper up against all 4 sides so that it's going to have a nice smooth edge as we wrap it. This part, I didn't used to do this, but I do think it makes a nicer appearance for your cover. Okay, so depending on how you do your mitering or your corners, some people cut out the square on the corners, some people cut it at an angle. I'm an angle cutter. So when you cut at an angle, you're not going to go straight to the chipboard. You want to leave a little bit of a space. If you're cutting out the squares, you cut out the whole square, and you can find other videos that show about that, but I am an angle cutter. So to make sure that I leave enough space, I use this little gadget. They're all over the place. You can find them, and you don't have to have it. But I want to show you about how much paper you need from that corner. So it is about 1/8 of an inch. So you can just take your scissors and snip, just make sure you don't go right to the chipboard, because what happens then is you will be able to see a lot of times the chipboard that you are trying to cover up on the corners. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that to all 4 corners. And I like to cut this off before I put on my score tape for the edges, because I don't like to waste score tape. Okay, so we're going to flip it over to the unfinished side, and I'm going to place 1/4 inch score tape around the perimeter of the chipboard and the paper. And I do that because I like to have a nice flat cover, and so I think it works best if you use a combination of both score tape and wet glue. So I'm going to be using the art glitter glue also. And you can prep all your pieces, the 2 8x10s and the 2 1/2x8, all at the same time. Do the same procedure on all 3. The last side. And then again, when we're done, we're going to take our scoring tool or our burnishing tool, and we're going to run that around the chipboard so that we have a nice firm stick here. Okay. It's worth the extra 2 seconds to do these extra things so that your book turns out nice and neat. We're going to do opposite sides together. So I'm going to wrap this bottom piece and the top piece, and then I'll go to my 2 sides. So let's go ahead and take off the backing of our score tape on the bottom. And I am going to lift up the sides here because we don't want it to get in the way. And this is where the art glitter glue comes in. I have got to start remembering to put my pin in the same spot all the time when I take it out so I don't keep losing it. Okay, so we're going to place glue right up against the chipboard so that the paper will have a nice smooth edge when we wrap it. And then I am going to fill in between the chipboard and the score tape that I laid on the paper. Okay, so what's happening is this glue is starting to soak into the fibers of the paper a little bit. It's going to make it a little bit more flexible. I bring this up and over, and notice that I am taking my hands and kind of smoothing out both sides at the same time so that there are no ripples and no bubbles on our paper. And then I'm taking my burnishing tool and giving that a rub, and I'm also going to then do the side, the edge, so that it's nice and smooth. Let's go ahead and do the opposite side now. Okay, make sure my glue is not clogged, which if I could invent something, maybe there's something out there and I don't know about it, but I get clogged glue even with a pen. Maybe that'll be my birthday gift to myself, is to find something, it's a bottle of some sort that does not clog. Okay, bring this up and over, burnish, and go ahead and do that on the edge also. Now, as we wrap the other two sides, remember I angle cut mine. So I have some extra paper here on the four corners. And so what I like to do is find my burnishing tool. There's certain, what do you call it? There are certain bone folders I use for different things. And I really like that gray bone folder from Country Craft Creations that I got. Okay, serious, did I put it away? The gray one? Oh, it's right in front of my face. Okay, so this is the one I like to use. It's, I think it's EK Tools, is that what it says? Anyway, I'm going to push down and in on that paper so that when I fold it over, it's just gonna be tucked in there and it'll help our corners be a little bit more squared off. Okay, so I'm kind of pushing down and in. Down and in. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing. I do want to make sure that I get some glue on those little triangles that I just folded in, and then up against the chipboard. My glue is not flowing as nice as I like it. And then I am going to fill in between the chipboard and my score tape. So when I lift this over, I just kind of make sure that these sides don't flip up. They never have, but I always kind of put a finger on each corner so that when I bring it up and over, they do stay down. Okay, and then we flatten, we burnish, and you really want to get those ends. And then I take my burnishing tool and just kind of go along the edges to make sure that that corner is nice and squared. Okay, opposite side. Make sure you get some glue on those little triangular pieces we folded down and in. And then in between here. We want our covers that get the most use to be very durable and nice and neat, because that's the first thing people see. Whoopsie. Giving those ends a real strong burnish so they kind of flatten out, and then along the sides to make sure I have a nice square. Did I do this? I don't think I did. I'm gonna do this now before I forget. Okay, so you should have 3 pieces that look like this on all 4 sides. 2 8x8s and the 2.5x8. I'm going to move those off to the side. Now you're going to have two pieces that we only wrap on the short ends, like so. We're going to leave these open, okay? But you're going to do this to the 1.5 inch piece of chipboard and the 1 5/8 piece of chipboard. And the two pieces of paper that you need to wrap, the 1.5 by 8 gets the 4.5 by 10, and the 1 5/8 gets the 4 5/8 by 10 paper. So I'm going to be using the 4 5/8 because I've already wrapped the other one. Once again, we're going to place our paper down. Now, because this isn't a connecting piece, we leave the sides open, the long sides, and we have 1.5 inch borders on the sides instead of 1 inch. So I can't use this because it's 1 and 1. Now there is one that I know for a fact she makes one that's 1 inch here and 1.5 on this side. I don't have that one. So I will be using my regular spacers. If you don't have spacers, just measure, use your ruler, make a pencil line and fold it and score it, whatever works for you. But you do want a 1.5 inch border and a 1 inch border. So I'm going to go ahead and take the backing off. Got it started and then it fell back down. Okay, and bump it up against my two spacers. That gives me the right measurement for my border. And we start the same way. We're going to just fold this over and burnish all 4 sides, just so that the paper knows where it's going to end up going. Up and over. Yeah, this one. And just like before, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to burnish right up against the chipboard. So you're going to see a definite ridge. Okay. I like to put score tape on the chipboard, but not the perimeter of the paper. It's just going to be a little piece. But before I do that, I need to get rid of some of the bulk. And so you're going to see some rectangles all 4 corners. I'm going to cut that at an angle and take half that, I'm going to take a triangle off by cutting from the score to the opposite corner. Okay, so we're taking off half in the form of a triangle. And for my math friends, you now have a trapezoid left, okay? You have a set of parallel sides, but these are not parallel. Okay. So now that we've got rid of the bulk, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple pieces of my score tape. I use 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to put a piece here and just on that straight edge parallel to it. Okay, like so. Alrighty. Now we also use our glitter glue on these pieces also. So I'm going to remove the backing. Oh, I didn't burnish. I'm going to remove the backing of the score tape, and I'm going to show you how I place glue to make sure you have a nice coverage. Once again, you do put glue up against the chipboard. But I also put some on the sides of the chipboard, about 1/2 inch up. Okay, so that the paper just sticks real nice there. And then I fill in this whole trapezoid area, the 2 triangular ends and that rectangular piece in the center. Then as I bring it up and over, I'm going to take my burnishing tool and push that paper up against the chipboard and then go straight out. And I kind of like it when there's excess glue that comes off, because then I know that it's 100% sealed then. Okay, and do the same thing on the other side. Push it up against the chipboard, straight out then. The nice thing about art glitter glue is it dries clear, not white. Okay, so we'll give that a chance to dry, and we're going to do the same thing on the opposite end. Glue up against the chipboard. Also about 1/2 inch on each side of that chipboard. Fill in the paper. Okay. I'll put the pin back in my glue. Bring that up and over. Push it up against the side piece of the chipboard, and then I notice I'm kind of rubbing it back and forth, and go straight out. Up against the chipboard, straight out. I love this. I use this all the time. Country Craft Creations has one that's angled like this, that's Teflon. I'll try and remember to link that in the description box, because this, once I found this, ooh, I love it and use it all the time. All right, so we have the ends folded up, but once again, we need to get rid of some bulk again, and we want to make sure when we connect the pages or the covers that we don't have any excess paper sticking out. So you rest your scissors up against that chipboard and just take a very, a very slight angled cut. You don't need to do much. Okay. And then I just like to go back and push that paper up against the chipboard now that we have all the corners glued the way we want them. Okay, so you'll have 2 pieces like this. These are our connecting pieces. So you're probably asking, what are we doing with that 6x8 piece? Well, my thoughts were I want to add a triangular piece of chipboard on the cover, because our book opens from, it's going to open bottom to top, not side to side. And on this bottom flap, that was that 2.5 inch piece, where did I put it? Remember, put it off the side? So when we have our book closed, there's going to be this piece here. I want to put a piece on top that kind of looks like a tent, because this is national parks, and to me, I think camping. I think it because I don't do it. And so I want to cut this at a triangle and attach it to this flap so that when you open it, you've got your tent. I hope it works out like I have thought about it. So the 6x8 piece is what we're going to work with next. And you will have the 6 inches across your scoreboard, and you need to put a tick mark at 3 inches. That's in the middle, okay? So next, if you like to use a pencil line, you can, which I'll go ahead and do that for you. I don't normally do it. I usually just use my ruler, but you're going to draw a line from that center 3 inch mark down to each corner so that you have a triangle. Okay. And so I have a guide. I'll just make sure that it looks right. It does. It goes exactly to the corner. And the other one. Okay, so we are going to take our blade or whatever it is that you like to use and slice these two pieces off. So we just have this center triangle, okay? And then I'll tell you what size paper and how we're going to wrap that bad boy. Well, let's see. You already have your paper cut. You should have one 8x10 left. We're going to be using the 8x10 to wrap it. Let me go ahead and trying to decide, do I want to use a blade or do I want to use a cutter? I think I'm going to use a blade. That's what I think. So I have my box cutter and I'm going to go ahead and just run it back and forth. I hope it's lined up like I drew my line. Oops, see, I went off. Dang it. I keep going off of this off my ruler. Dang it. That is why I sometimes use a blade. I did actually waste score tape. I shouldn't have done that. I keep going off the wrong side here. Sorry. I want it to go to the corner. I might need to switch out, get a new blade. It might be ready. Holy moly, that was ridiculous. Oh, it's not. I still need to get rid of. Okay, so I don't, not that we're going to see it because we're going to wrap it, but my goodness, that was ridiculous how much issue I had with cutting off the sides. Let's hope for better. I hate to throw this away. Look at all that. Okay. Let's try and stay up against the ruler this time and not go off like I did before. So I'm pushing down hard on my ruler. Oh, I'm going to do a better job, yes. No, it's not all the way through yet. So mine is pretty much done, but I have to go through the score tape. I'm gonna get scissors because I don't want to screw up. Shouldn't be that hard to cut out a triangle. Next time I would use my cutter. I have a cutter for chipboard. Okay, once again, waste. I wonder if I should keep them in maybe. You know what, maybe I could use them to, yeah, I'm not gonna waste these. So like when I want something 3-dimensional and have it stick up, instead of using my foam squares, you can use your chipboard instead. And because this has adhesive on it, I'm not wasting it. And that's what I'm gonna do with it. So there. Get all these scraps and mess off my scoreboard here. So this is going to be a little bit different, and you might need some patience. I'm telling myself that. So get your 8x10, and you want to line this up 1 inch on the sides, 1 inch at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and use my other spacers, the ones that are separate because they're longer. And so you put this one in first, the top one, and we're going to push it up against the top and the side, okay? And it should be pretty stinking close. You know what, do I have a third? I thought I maybe had a third 1-inch piece. I might lay this down also, just to make sure. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, let's go ahead and take off the backing. Do your best to center it so that you have 1 inch at the base and at the top. Close enough. It might not be perfect, but it doesn't have to be, which is a good thing because we're wrapping all 4 sides. Excuse me, it's a triangle. That would be three sides. Okay, let's flip that and burnish. Now, we want a 1-inch side also. We don't want this. So let's go ahead and cut off 1 inch. So I'm just gonna lay this down as a guide, and I'm gonna cut off the excess like so. So this is what I have. So just like before, I'm going to start bringing that chipboard up and over, and I'm going to burnish. Okay, what kind of triangle are we working with right here, boys and girls? A cute triangle, a right triangle, an isosceles triangle. Okay, and then the bottom, or the base. Okay, so I am going to cut off these little pieces at the end. And we may have to do some trimming, just like how sometimes you cut out the square, you know, at the ends instead of mitering. I'm cutting out those bottom pieces. So I am going to the chipboard. I'm also going to go ahead and do that little piece at the top. And I'm going to the actual chipboard. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Let's take our burnishing tool and bump that paper right up against the chipboard on all 3 sides. Okay. So I'm going to bring this up and over, and you will notice that I have excess paper. Okay, so I am going to straighten it out from the corner down. So I'm going to go straight up to the corner. Straight up to the corner. Does that look about right? Okay, and now, because I don't want to screw up, I'm going to put a pencil mark. There might be an easier way, but this is how I'm doing it. And I have not wrapped a triangle for a very long time. I don't even know if I have ever wrapped a triangle. So I'm going to put a little tally here, and I'm just going to know that I can cut at an angle to the corner. Okay. And then that will cover it. Okay. Same here. I'm going to put a little tick mark where that paper meets the chipboard, so I know how much to cut off. I'm going to cut from that tick mark to the corner. Okay. So that's what you're going to end up with. Okay. I'm trying to decide, do I want to wrap this right now and then do the sides? Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and adhere this down. Starting to get a little bit of a mess on my desk. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 1/4 inch score tape down here. And on the paper. My paper doesn't look squared off, but that's okay. So we want to make sure that the corners don't have chipboard showing. So we have excess paper right now, so it should be okay if we do it correctly. I'm going to take off the backing. And I'm going to fill it in with glue. Yeah, one side's way bigger, this side's bigger. There's more paper on that side. Okay, just bring it up and burnish it. And go ahead along the edge. Okay, so I'm gonna put my pin back in. I'm gonna take a drink of coffee and be thinking about how do I wanna do these corners without screwing up. So let me think for a second. Okay, so what I'm talking about is when you bring this over, you don't want to see any chipboard here. So what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. I have this piece folded in. And I'm leaving it folded in, I'm holding it, and I'm just going to take my scissors and cut this excess piece off, like so. I'm going to do the same thing to the top. Am I really? Let's go straight, just like we did down here. I'm at the tip of my triangle. I'm going to go straight up to the top. Okay. And I'm going to put my tick, we're doing it just like we did the bottom. I'm thinking as I go. Okay, so I'm going to put a tick mark where this paper meets the chipboard, so I know where to cut. And I'm going to cut from my tick mark to the corner. Okay, let's take care of this. Now just double check that you don't see any paper on, and I see a little bit, so I'm going to just trim off a hair. And I'm not going to the corner, I'm lifting it up just a little bit. I'm not all the way to the corner. Okay, I can live with that. Okay, so here we go. So far, I'm pretty proud of myself. I think I'm doing okay. On the paper. And on my chipboard. Let's go ahead and put our glue. And in between here. I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing. And I'm going to fold that over. I am a little concerned up here. Okay, so I don't have any paper or any chipboard showing on my corners yet, but now I need to look at this one. I do not want any chipboard showing, so I'm going to, as it's folded over, I'm going to lightly take those excess pieces off. Yeah, I don't like the top of mine's a little funky, but it should be okay, shouldn't it? I think I can live with it. It's because I kind of screwed this side up. I'm going to leave that excess paper up there so it looks like a triangle. I'm not going to cut that off because then well, maybe I will. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And however it turns out, it turns out. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. And make sure that you don't see any excess. We're going to go ahead and we're going to finish this up. The third side, if I get my mess cleaned up. 1/4 inch tape first. And I'm most likely going to add a little glue on the very tip up here. Okay. Now, if you have, do I have a brown marker? Brown. I have black. Will that matter? Let's see. Do I have brown? Oh, I do have, oh, it's kind of a shiny brown. Let's see. I don't know if this is the perfect match, but I'm going to try and just, oh, it does kind of match. Just want to make sure that I don't see the color of chipboard. The bottom's fine. I think that'll work. And nobody should be getting that close anyway. If they're looking that close, no. Okay, backing off. Where's my thingy? Oh, jeez. All right. And away we go. Moment of truth. If I see any chipboard, I will just get my marker and I will go over it. Going over the edge. I have a little piece of paper I need to cut off here. You guys, I can totally live with this. I think I'm happy with how it turned out. So again, what we're going to end up doing is our book is going to open from the bottom to the top, and this will be attached to our little 2.5 inch piece here, like so. It has to go to the bottom because we cut it at 8 inches tall. Okay, and that, you can make it a mountain if you want. You know what? Maybe we should. So I'm making this tutorial before you'll see the walkthrough to decide to see how I ended up, but maybe I might make this a mountain instead of a tent. And then I might do that. Okay, we'll see what I end up with. If you've seen the walkthrough, you're gonna know what my decision was. Okay, so now it's time to attach the pieces. of the main book. And we're not going to attach this triangle yet, just so you know. Okay, clear out my mess. Let's start with an 8x8 and the 1.5x8. Okay, the 1.5 is going to go at the top, and the 1 5/8 is going to go at the bottom. Okay, so we want to attach, because it's a square, we're just going to pick a side, and we're going to attach the 8-inch piece like so. So what do we need to do? We need to get some score tape on here. Some people just use glue. I still kind of old school. I'm going to use both. So I'm using the 1/4, and I usually use 3 strips. One along the bottom, one close to the chipboard, but not all the way to the, see, I have some space there. And then the center. Do the same thing to the other side while you're at it. We want this spine piece to really keep that book together. Okay. You know the drill. If you have any tape hanging over the edge, make sure you bring it up and over, like wrap it so it doesn't hang off the edge. Okay, so we're going to attach this like so. Now, some people fold this over. Let's go ahead and burnish this again. And they attach it like this. And if you use glue, you can do that. I'm gonna try it this way. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna attach it. So I am gonna have to put some glue on top of my score tape so that I have some wiggle room so I can move it if need be. So let's take off the backing. And let's see if I can make it look nice when I attach it. Okay, I'm going to get my art glitter glue, and I am going to run a bead of glue up at the top, or above that. Remember, we didn't go all the way to the chipboard with our score tape. So I'll put it in between where there was no. But I also want to put some here so I can have some wiggle room if I need to adjust that spine. I do want it all the way to the end. Okay, let's see how well I do. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to use my hands as a guide. Okay, that was pretty slick, actually. I'm going to go ahead and push it down. If there's any excess glue, I have a little bit. And I'm just going to go ahead and let it dry for a second. Okay. Now we're going to attach the other side to the other 8x8. So you can get that out and get that handy. So tell me, how many of you fold it over like this when you attach? And how many of you lay it down flat and attach it? I am curioso. Okay, I think it's probably about dry. I think that looks good. I mean, it's right up against there, and it's going to be, I think I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to bring that paper over the other side and burnish it. And I'm going to attach another 8x8 to it. Like so. All right, let's bring it on. Again, don't forget the glue if you're doing it like this, because you need some wiggle room if it doesn't line up quite right. Here we go. In the empty space first, in between the score tape, right up against the edge that we left a little space, and now on top of the score tape so that if I need to move it, I can. I hope I don't have to. Okay. Moment of truth. I'm going to fold that over. I'm going to line it up using my, oops, ooh. Oh, I'm not having as easy of a time with this one because I'm going to, hold on. I need to be able to see it and I don't have my readers on. Good thing I put that glue on for this one. It was not as easy with that other piece attached. Get rid of any glue that's hanging off there. I think I got it pretty well lined up. Okay. So now we're going to attach the 1 5/8 inch piece. And we're going to attach it, and then we're going to end up attaching it to the 2 1/2 inch piece, like so. Okay, does that make sense? So I'm going to prep my connecting piece, and then I'll go ahead and continue to attach it to the book with you. Okay, let's finish up the cover. I did already attach the 2 1/2 inch piece to the 1 5/8 inch spine. And now I need to attach the other side to the 8 by 8 so that it's going to be like so. Okay. And we'll end up putting magnets on this and this to keep it closed. But now I did this one just like I did before. I just wanted to take up less of your time. So let's go ahead and remove the backing of the last piece. And let's do the glue thing again. Put it in both the empty spaces and a little bit on top of the score tape. So we can have wiggle room like I needed on the last one. Okay. Better put some there. So I'm going to fold this over and I'm going to line it up. It doesn't matter which side you go to because they're both the same. And I'm going to line it up like so. That one was way easier. I don't know why. And let's burnish. Get that strong grip on there. I'll go ahead and just kind of put these there for a second. While I'm letting that dry, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper that are 5 1/2 by, our book is 8. So I made my, instead of 8, I did like 7 15/16. I just took like a hair off. You could do 7 7/8 if that works better for you, but I wanted it to get as close to top and bottom as possible. So I didn't take off an 1/8, I just took off like a 1/16. Now, I also put score tape on the back. To me, it's gonna lay much nicer and it won't buckle as much. So I have used glue in the past and it did not work well for me. Some people put just score tape on the edges here, on the edge of the paper. I just, to cover myself, I put it all over and I'm going to cover that spine piece. Okay, and I want to make sure that I cover these also, just to kind of help it lay flat. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do one of those, and I'm centering it over the 1.5 inch piece first. It doesn't matter. You might be doing the 1 5/8 inch first, does not matter. But I like to make sure I have good coverage of, I couldn't get the score tape all the way to the edge, so I put a 1/8 inch piece, but I didn't burnish it. So let's see if I can remove that without it coming up. Okay, it looks like it's on there. Fabulous. Now I do have, you want to make sure that if you have any overhang, just make sure you wrap it around your paper. You don't want it showing. There we go. Okay. So I'm centering it over this, and I'm going almost all the way to the bottom. Giving it a very firm burnish treatment. And we have to do that one more time. Let's see. Okay, we want to make sure that we cover up this chipboard. So I'm putting it at the end of this piece of cardstock, and I'm going over like so. Okay, I want to make sure that this is on there real well. Okay, last one, and then our cover is done for right now. Maybe we should do the magnets right now so we don't forget to. I'm telling myself that because I might forget. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure it goes almost all the way to the bottom. Give that a good burnish. And now your book is gonna be much more, it's not gonna be as floppy, okay? It's gonna be more rigid. So then I like to bring up the chipboard and just kind of run a bone folder in there to get that adhesive to stick in there where it belongs. And I do that to all of my spine pieces. If you're not using artisan cardstock, be careful because it may not be as durable. It might tear on you. Okay, and now this one. Now we know which one's the bottom because it's got that 2-inch piece on, so if it's hard to tell size-wise with the spine, the side that has the 2.5 is your larger piece, and that's what you want because it has to go over this piece of chipboard. Okay, I like this idea. And I just want to look. I think I'm going to do a mountain. Yeah, ooh, I love that idea. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do magnets. I don't know if I have enough though. I need to order some. I have 2 sets left. I kind of wanted 3. So I'm going to, well, at least if by putting these 2 on, I'll remember that I might want to do a 3rd one. So what I'm going to do, I need a positive and a negative. These are the basic gray ones from Country Craft Creations. I really like them. I think she carries another brand now too. So I'm putting a positive and a negative together. I ended up with the extra negative. I don't know how I ended up with the extra negative, Probably made a mistake somewhere. Okay, I like these because they already have the adhesive on them. We want to make sure that it closes all the way, so don't like accidentally like get this book closed. So I'm going to actually hold it so you can see it goes, that cover goes all the way to the bottom. All right, so let's put our magnets on our 2.5 inch piece, and I just put them in the center. And let me put my pin in my glue. Okay. Take off, I'm going to take off just one side right now. And I'm just placing it near the center of that 2.5 inch piece. I'm gonna do the same thing with my second one. I do want a third one though, just so y'all know. I think I have a small one. Maybe I'll have to use that. I need to order some. Can't believe I ran out. Okay, and I'm gonna put the other one here. Now, as we take off the backing then, we're going to push it down so that it knows exactly where it needs to go. So take off the backing of the partner. Okay, before I push down, I want to make sure that this piece is all the way to the bottom. And now I'm pushing really firmly. And now it's in the right spot. Now I don't want it to do any movement, so I am going to put a little bit of score tape. Like so. Just so it doesn't move. I made too big of one, but. And I'm gonna do that on all 4 pieces. Okay. Now remember, our book's not going to open this way. It's going to open from the bottom up. Okay. All right, I'm going to find myself a third somewhere, and then we're going to go from there.